Test, test, test. There we go. There we go. How's everybody doing today? All right, so we're just gonna jump right into it. I'm gonna assume that you all are already familiar with what's going on with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. Basically, what's happening right now is Blake Lively is suing Justin Baldoni for $250 million, alleging sexual harassment as well as retaliation. So, what we're going to do is we're just going to read through the case really quickly and um, doop, doop, doop. Yeah, we're going to read through the case and come to our own conclusions about what's going on with the case, right? So, back in November of 2023, this was shortly nearing the end of the SAG after strike. We have our first bit of evidence from Blake Lively's team to the production. And it states, Dear Imeni and Joseph, with the tentative resolution of the SAG after strike, we are writing to address we are writing to address how to handle a return to set of It Ends With Us. It is no surprise to the film's producers that the experience of shooting the film has been deeply concerning on many levels. The complaints of our client and others have been repeatedly conveyed and well documented throughout pre production and photography. That's important. So, apparently, they've been issuing complaints since pre production. Um, while we reserve all legal rights, at this stage, our client is willing to forego a formal HR process in favor of everyone returning to work and finishing the film as long as the set is safe moving forward. In order for our client to feel safe returning to the production, we are attaching a list of protections that will need to be guaranteed and observed by the film's producers. If the production is unwilling to accept or uphold these productions, our client is prepared to pursue her full legal rights and remedies. This letter is not intended to constitute a full statement of all facts and circumstances related to this matter. It is not intended to be, nor should it be construed as a waiver, release, or relinquishment of any of our clients' rights or remedies, legal or equitable, all of which are hereby expressly reserved. So, one of the things that I just saw, I briefly mentioned, was that they said that they have been issuing complaints since pre production and throughout the principal photography, and that she didn't want to go to a formal HR process. Now, while I have been paying somewhat attention to this case in details, briefly anyway, what I did hear was that Justin Baldoni was the one who was kind of, or it's been alleged that Justin Baldoni was the one who was saying, "Oh, we wanted an HR person on set," but it appears from this proof here from back in November that it was Blake Lively who was requesting that. We'll see what Baldoni has to say when we get to his documents. This is just Blake's for now. So this is the protections that she's listed that she wanted. In order for Blake Lively to be able to return to production on the film, each of the following protections must be agreed to in writing and met without fail going forward. An intimacy coordinator, so that's what I was talking about. An intimacy coordinator must be presented at all times when BL, which Blake Lively, is on set. There must be a closed set during the rehearsal or filming of any scene involving simulated sex or nudity, and any observation via remote monitors shall be restricted to essential personnel as approved by BL. To be further described in fully negotiated, fully executed, SAG compliant nudity rider. Okay. There is to be no spontaneous improvising of any scenes involving physical touching, simulated sex, or nudity. Scenes involving kissing, depictions of sexual intercourse, or any other physical touching must be contained in screenplay, uh, as approved by Blake Lively, coordinated in advance in the presence of the intimacy coordinator, and may only proceed as choreographed with the consent of all participants in advance. Okay. Physically touching and or comments on BL's physical appearance must only be done slash made in connection with the character and scene work, not as to BL personally, which is something we've heard throughout these proceedings that um, Blake Lively has been alleging that Justin Baldoni was talking about her as a person and not the character. Um, Except as written into the screenplay or as strictly required in connection with makeup or costume preparation, there's to be no physical touching, including hugging, of BL, her on-set personnel, and or her employees. There are to be no discussions of personal experiences with sex or nudity, including as it relates to conduct with spouses or others. Again, that's something else that we've been hearing. Um, Blake Lively has been complaining about, that Justin Baldoni has been talking about some of his other experiences, allegedly. Um, no one will enter, attempt to enter, interrupt, pressure, or request entrance to BL's trailer while she is in a state of undress for any reason. Basically, when she's naked or half dressed. There should be no rehearsal or filming of any nudity and or simulated sex without the nudity writer in place. Any such footage previously shot without the nudity writer in place and in direct violation of SAG requirements may not be used without BL's and her legal representation prior written consent. Now, I'm not 100% familiar what a nudity writer is, so let's look that up. Let's look up what a nudity writer is. What is that? Okay, so it says a nudity rider is a contractual provision added to an actor's agreement when they are expected to perform scenes involving nudity or sex. It outlines the specific terms and conditions under which the actor agrees to participate in the scenes, ensuring their comfort, consent, and boundaries are respected. So there should be no rehearsal or filming or sex without the nudity writer in place. Okay, so it's seeming like they didn't have one because she's saying that there won't be one without the nudity writer in place. So I feel like this would be in relation to this one where there will be no spontaneous improvisation of scenes involving physical touching, simulated sex, or nudity. So, okay. BL may have a representative of her choosing present with her on set for the remainder of the rehearsal and shooting days, including while on a closed set. If BL is exposed to COVID-19, she must be provided notice as soon as possible after Wayfarer or producer or production executives become aware of such exposure. There shall be no retaliation of any kind against BL for raising concerns about the conduct described in this letter or for these requirements. Any changes in attitude, sarcasm, marginalization, or other negative behavior, either on set or otherwise, including during publicity and promotional work, as a result of these requests, is retaliatory and unacceptable and will be met with immediate action. So there are a couple more. Sony must have a mutually approved representative on set for the remainder of the rehearsal and shooting days, including on a closed set, to actively supervise the production, including monitoring the safety of the cast and crew, ensuring compliance with the schedule, and overseeing logistics, problem solving, and creative issues. Wayfarer will engage an additional experienced A-level producer approved by Ms. Lively to actively supervise the production, including monitoring the safety of the cast and crew, ensuring compliance with the schedule, and overseeing logistics, problem solving, and creative issues. Wayfarer must empower any existing third party producer with appropriate and customary authority to actively supervise the production, including monitoring the safety of the cast, crew, ensuring compliance with the schedule, and overseeing logistics, problem solving, and creative issues. So essentially, she wants an additional producer provided by Sony to be there as as like a witness and to oversee everything and make sure, hey, like the writer is in place, everything that's supposed to happen as far as script wise is happening, and we are not, as she alludes to up here, there's no spontaneous physical touching or simulated sex or nudity or any conversations about relationships outside of the characters in the film. So, and we have any, did I read this? Oh, Wayfarer will engage an A-list stunt double approved by Miss Lively to rehearse and perform any scenes involving the character Lily that depicts R-word or any act of sexual violence. Miss Lively will only perform close-up work or other pre-approved shots for such scenes, which, I mean, is understandable. That's traumatizing. Let's see. Any rehearsal or shooting involving Miss Lively or any other performer depicting the character of Lily that involves nudity, including partial nudity, or simulated sex must be conducted strictly in accordance with the nudity rider and must adhere to the approved script, which it sounds like they're just reiterating what they said before. Any and all day players must be engaged through customary industry talent agency and not through personal connections of the director and or producer. So basically, Justin Baldoni, who I believe is the director, cannot just bring any person to, play a role on the set. Hold an all hands in person meeting before production resumes, which will include the director, all producers, the Sony representative, who she requested, which would be the A level producer, the newly engaged third party producer, Blake Lively, and Blake Lively's designated representatives to confirm and approve a plan for implementation of the above that will be adhered to for the physical and emotional safety of Blake Lively, her employees, and all the cast and crew moving forward. So essentially, after all of this, she wanted to have after she sent in this, she wanted to have a meeting where all of the cast, all of the crew, Justin Baldoni, everyone was to be on set to have a meeting and to go over all of these points and to make sure that everybody understood, hey, look, there have been some things going on. I doubt when you're dealing with this sort of production, you don't want to give too much details with who is having issues with whom, because you wouldn't want the crew to begin to feel uncomfortable. You really want to try to compartmentalize that as much as possible. So it would seem that, once they did have the meeting, excuse me, let's see. Yep. Once they did have the meeting, just to get everybody on board with moving forward, like, look, this is how we're going to comply. So now what we're going to do is move on to the next exhibit. Okay, I'm gonna just keep that one open. Okay, so we have Exhibit D. This is also from Miss Lively. Now, this to me was like, oh snap. This to me was like, oh snap, right? Okay. Because apparently what it seemed like was that Justin Baldoni had set up a scenario planning, as it's called, in the event that, I mean, I could just read it, but in the event that Blake Lively would go on a smear campaign. So this was submitted to the court on December 31st, right? So it says, Objective: protect the reputation of Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, and Wayfarer Studios in the lead up, during, and following the premiere of It Ends With Us. Underscore the achievement and efforts of the Wayfarer team in bringing this movie to life, and emphasize Justin and the studio's commitment to their team and making the broader industry a more inclusive place. Okay, so it says overview. Though there are several potential scenarios at play here, which we should be prepared for should BL and her team make her grievance public via a blatant story or subtle leak. Given she was made to compromise with the premiere, we feel she will move forward with doing so. Basically, saying that they feel that she is actually going to move forward and start leaking information, um, according to this document. So, our recommendation is to get ahead of this narrative, owning any misconceptions and addressing them head on. Ultimately, we need to be ready to take the air out of any story that does arise, as well as commentary and or background narrative BL and her team put together without being the louder antagonizer. So it says the tag team will continue to media monitor, flag, and respond to any media proactively reaching out, reporting on the issue, and will send regular reports on existing chatter that may arise. Additionally, our team's digital experts will continue to monitor and flag any online content related to the crisis and or mitigate if false narratives begin in the digital space. So they're already so this is the crisis management team, and they're basically this is their plan for handling this whole issue. So our team will establish a rapid response communication system, which keeps Justin, Jamie, and Wayfarer Studios abreast of new coverage and narrative trends in real time, both in traditional media and on social media. So anything that goes up, they're keeping track. So, hey, don't come after me. I'm just reading what I found. All right. Alongside Jen Abel and her team, we will manage media inquiries regarding the news on background as sources familiar. Working with legal as appropriate, we will provide information to ensure our narrative is properly represented in any and all coverage. TAG will confirm outlets intending on covering the story, especially those impactful to Justin, Jamie, and Wayfarer's interests, are fully briefed on the situation, including and not limited to The Hollywood Reporter, Variety, Deadline, The Wrap, New York Post, Daily Mail, etc. We will run real-time media monitoring reports with multiple daily updates on any coverage that arises and impact that the PR teams have had on stories. Further, we will produce daily sentiment reports which capture the reach and attitude of opinions online related to the issue and towards Justin, Jamie, and Wayfarer. These reports will also qualify the level of impact these stories have and the gradual decrease in interest post-crisis on this narrative. So they're literally managing in terms of what they're seeing online, how much people are talking about it, which side people are leaning to, and trying to control the narrative while at the same time not trying to sound like they're, I don't want to throw any extra words in there, while not trying to sound like they're overshadowing any of Blake Lively's concerns, which is what it seems to be here, what they're saying here. So, preparation materials. Our team will develop clean top line messaging outlining the facts in conjunction with Jen Abel and her team. Our team and Wayfarer Studios will discern what assets pertaining to communication, schedules, times when Blake Lively called out, etc., that we can share for off record or for context purposes with journalists. So they're just getting all their ducks in a row so that once they start to get contacted by some of these outlets that they mentioned here, the Hollywood Reporter, Variety, whatever, they already have their ducks in a row. Our team will collate a list of people who have publicly discussed their positive working experience with Justin. Examples include Brandon Skylinar, Forbes, Colleen Hoover slash Entertainment Weekly. Key messaging points. Okay, so this is how they're going to try to manage this situation. Justin Baldoni, who is JB, stellar reputation among colleagues and industry peers, numerous quotes and interviews sharing positive experiences. So expect to see a lot of that coming out in the media if we have not been seeing much of it already. JB has been a longtime activist and advocate of and for women in Hollywood, speaking out about challenges his colleagues faced before the Me Too movement even began. I believe I did hear that he has called himself a male feminist, if I'm not mistaken. Um, the Man Enough podcast has been a source of inspiration since it began, fostering a safe, encouraging environment for a range of perspectives to meet and discuss gender roles and how their rigidity affects everyone. While JB and JH, who is JH? I don't know if anybody in the chat knows who JH is. Do let me know. Okay. While JB and JH attempted to foster a kind, safe, creative environment on set during a challenging period in Hollywood, resurgence of blank 19, the writer's strike, the SAG after strike, their efforts were continuously thrown back in their faces. Production members lost their jobs due to BL's takeover, Miss Lively's takeover, and insisted upon involvement, including loss of budget due to rescheduling shoot days when BL refused to show up. So apparently they're saying in straightforward terms that people began to lose their jobs because they were going over budget from having to reschedule shoot days from when Blake Lively refused to show up to set. When BL wasn't able to get her way on set or behind the scenes, she involved her husband to create I think that's supposed to say imbalance. That's a typo. To create an imbalance of power between her and Justin Baldoni. RR, I don't know who RR is, went so far as to use his power. Ryan Reynolds, allegedly. That's who I assume RR is. RR went so far as to use his power to call agents and agencies, Sony and other key players, so that Blake Lively would get her way. So basically, when she wouldn't get her way, she reached out to Ryan Reynolds so that he could use, allegedly RR's Ryan Reynolds, so that he could use his cachet within the industry to reach out to Sony and be like, yo, listen, my wife is having issues on set, make this happen. And they really put the pressure on the production for Blake Lively to get her way during the production of this movie, allegedly. Okay. Oh, this is spicy. Blake Lively's less than favorable reputation in the industry spans decades and has been reported. There were issues on Gossip Girl, The Town, A Simple Favor, and more. Wow, I did not know that. There is a clear, likely motive due to the film's value and fan base, in which BL is attempting to bully her way into buying the rights for It Starts With Us. Ooh, okay, now that is an allegation right there. They're saying that she is trying to basically clear motivation. Yeah, so huh. Okay, so I don't want to make too many inferences, right? I'm just going to say what it says, that she is trying to bully her way into the rights. And what it would seem is like she is trying to, allegedly, according to this, I don't want to say smear, but she's allegedly trying to move Justin Baldoni aside and position herself um, so that she can have the rights because allegedly Justin Baldoni and his company Wayfair, they're the ones who have the rights for this. So sorry if, I feel like, or if it feels like I'm not speaking as fully as possible, but I'm just not trying to put words in people's mouths. This is a legal proceeding. I don't want to say people are saying things when they're not. I'm really just trying to be respectful and convey the information to you as plainly as possible and try my best here. All right. So, our team will also include additional positive stats. JB's career, his accolades, his inspirations to take on this project's obstacles he overcame, and what's in store next. Okay, the plan of action. Scenario 1. All right, so Blake and team push out negative story post premiere. So they're saying after the movie comes out, if Blake and her team start to push any negative stories, this is what we would be expecting to see. So let's see if we've been seeing any of this. Depending on the scope of her push, we recommend planting a seed earlier onto position your truth. Wait. Depending upon the scope of her push, we recommend planting a seed earlier on to position your truth/narrative around the ordeal in a subtle way to avoid having to backtrack. Gotcha. Okay, so they want to get ahead of the story. Um, an idea for this and working alongside Jen is giving a friendly reporter who is covering the film a simple line hinting that while you and Blake didn't always agree at times, had our differences, you have respect for her. This way, if Blake Lively's stories are softer, we don't look so aggressive. So basically, using a friendly media outlet to get their story, their side of the story. We would also ensure the story is broader about the film, inspiration, so that the line is one part of a larger piece. So they don't want to focus on that altogether. They just want to mention that and keep it moving. If her team is working on a longer lead, negative narrative, we would be given a short heads up in advance of the story and would, alongside Jen, correct inaccuracies in fact checking, mitigate false narratives, and mitigate false narratives and point reporters toward third-party advocates who can speak positively on your behalf. So that is a notification for me to remind you all to please be sure to subscribe. I very much appreciate it. Um, we would we would then brief people with a more robust version of the facts, executing a background approach using third-party advocates and off-record conversations with trusted friendlies to depict the truth of the situation. Targets would include popular industry newsletters targeting industry peers, studio executive investors, etc., and social media, as well as trades. All right, so we just got a few more things here. Where were we? We're here. Okay. So background briefing would clarify any misconceptions, what was taken out of context, and what would be chalked up to simple misunderstanding or miscommunication. Background briefing would highlight JB, JH's, and Wayfair's side of the story, what their truth is as it pertains to any allegations or negativity, facts based on the timeline, and issues they experienced on their end, any lost days of shooting, consistently adhering to demands, etc. Background briefing would include the fact that production members lost their jobs due to her involvement/takeover. The background briefing would include the numerous articles, interviews, and quotes of past colleagues who've openly loved working with Justin and pointing to BL's less than favorable reputation of her 20-year career. And then finally, the background would include pointing people to positive commentary, quotes, interviews from colleagues and peers of Justin praising his work. Now, the second scenario, Blake if Blake was to subtly hint at her experience in post-premiere coverage, either in an interview, op-ed, or otherwise. So, our prediction is that BL would address her experience on set in upcoming press. She will not name you directly, but rather pepper in Easter eggs alluding to your involvement, being mindful not to completely jeopardize her potential involvement with the film's sequel. While planting seeds of doubt and speculation, especially amongst the passionate fan base. BL and her team have already begun to plant seeds around this and insisting promotion be kept separate. Okay, yeah. So this is what we've kind of seen already, that they have been um, doing separate promotion, or they were doing separate promotion. These pieces will likely come out following any potential hit pieces and or coverage from Premiere. Our recommended approach would be to provide reporters who reach out for a comment should it be obvious referring to you. Okay, so essentially, we're not gonna just read through all of this. And then scenario 3 is Ryan comes forward in defense of his wife. And should Ryan come forward in defense of his wife, we would advise against any direct engagement statement. So basically, don't directly react to anything that Ryan Reynolds says in relation to this. As part of our team, can also explore planting stories about the weaponization of feminism and how people in BL circle like Taylor Swift have been accused of utilizing these tactics to bully into getting what they want. Oof. All right. So after these two exhibits, then we on January 21st, we got this, which is a letter from Blake Lively's attorneys to the judge. All right. So we'll read some of it, not all of it, just to get, the gist, and then we'll go through the others because we have letters from each. We also have the response from Justin Baldoni as well. So, dear Judge Lehman, we write on behalf of plaintiff Blake Lively in the matter Lively versus Wayfarer Studios, and defendants Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds in the matter of Wayfarer Studios. On December 20th, 2024, Miss Lively filed an administrative complaint with the California Civil Rights Department, requisite step in exhausting her administrative remedies prior to filing suit. Immediately thereafter, Ms. Lively provided the defendant name Wayfarer's Party. At the time, Ms. Lively also issued the Wayfarer parties a cease and desist letter demanding that they immediately cease and desist all unlawful conduct toward the Lively Reynolds parties and their affiliates, including their harassing and retaliatory media and online campaign against Ms. Lively. Immediately thereafter, and virtually every day since, Mr. Friedman has given television interviews, appeared on podcasts, issued inflammatory written statements, and leaked information, including remarkably documents as banal as document preservation demands to third parties, to the Hollywood press and tabloids. Those statements not only continued the campaign of retaliation that was the subject of Miss Lively's first cease and desist, but they contain numerous new false statements about Miss Lively and others. A list of public statements issued by Mr. Friedman, which is surely incomplete, is attached in Exhibit B. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, on December 23rd, 2024, in light of repeated instances of Mr. Friedman making unprofessional and false statements about Miss Lively and the litigation she has commenced, Miss Lively sent a second cease and desist letter, this time directly to Mr. Friedman, attached hereto as I'm assuming this is Exhibit C. The second cease and desist letter directly addressed Mr. Friedman's ethical obligations, notified Mr. Friedman that he had defamed and engaged in further unlawful retaliation against Miss Lively, and demanded that he immediately cease and desist from making further defamatory and retaliatory statements relating to Miss Lively. Okay. Second cease and desist further explained that Mr. Friedman's statements issued as part of an all-out media blitz to anyone willing to listen and unprotected by the litigation privilege. Okay. Earlier today. Since the Wayfarer parties and Mr. Frisk, so we get into the part with the leaked video here. And since the Wayfarer parties and Mr. Friedman received the cease and desist letters, they have continued their harassing and retaliatory media campaign with almost daily media statements or other releases to the press. Earlier today, the Wayfarer parties leaked a video to the media that have asserted it's designed. Earlier today, the Wayfarer parties leaked a video to the media that they have asserted is designed to refute the allegations made in the Lively case, even though those allegations are now before this court in not one, but two federal complaints. They have further indicated that they intend to create a website to increase publicity around the exhibits filed in the Wayfarer case. In one of today's multiple statements, they stated that the website will contain all correspondences as well as relevant videos that quash her claims. As counsel for Miss Lively has made clear, these releases only reinforce the claims Miss Lively advanced in her original complaint and continue to advance the campaign of retaliatory alleged therein. Campaign of retaliation alleged therein. But there is a more fundamental problem with Mr. Friedman's litigation via press statement strategy. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I had no idea that they were planning on making a website for this. So I make a note for myself to look that up. We might pull that up when we catch up tomorrow, or, you know, depending on how this stream goes. You want to check out that website by JB's team. Okay. So we are here. As Ms. Lively's counsel have attempted repeatedly to caution Mr. Friedman, federal litigation must be conducted in court according to relevant professional conduct. So basically saying that, you know, they're trying to win the court of public opinion instead of doing it in the courts. So there's a lot here. So clearly, like, if you see, like, that, like, tons and tons of pages. So I'm just gonna skim and give you guys the cliff notes. So Mr. Friedman's conduct is by design, not by accident, and this court should consider carefully his history of litigating matters in the press when evaluating his request to be admitted pro hac vice. I don't know what that means. Let's learn some legal terms real quick. And while we're learning that, exercise control over the docket. Exhibit A. So, okay, so we have some exhibits here. All right, so, so this is the cease and desist that she sent. So it says the undersigned law firms represent Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, Mint Mobile, yada, 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 Maximum Effort Production. With respect to the dispute, Lively Reynolds parties, Wayfair, co-founder, The dispute arises out of actions by Wayfarer parties to sexually harass Miss Lively during the production of It Ends With Us and to retaliate against her for raising concerns about such harassing and other inappropriate conduct through a coordinated and malicious social media and press campaign, which was aided and abetted by the Wayfarer associates and designed to harm the Lively Reynolds parties and to portray them in a negative false light. I mean, I think the most damning piece of evidence that we've seen so far is that um Blake Lively had communicated allegedly with the production before they even came back to the set saying like, hey, we've already been having some issues, um and this is what we want to address before we even come back to set. And because we have these issues, we don't want you to be able to retaliate against Miss Lively. And now they're saying they just went ahead and are retaliating anyway. Okay, so in particular, we have obtained extensive communication among and between you detailing a repulsive and ongoing scheme to harm Miss Lively and the Lively Reynolds parties, including by targeting them for harassment, damaging public image through coordinated harassment. Okay. Okay, so here's something they say. We know that, for example, you work to suppress stories that would have revealed HR complaints with the four majors and coordinated to plant and shape stories that were published in the Daily Mail, Business Insider, and Page Six. We also know that via contract with Mr. Wallace and his digital team, you have paid third parties to seed, manipulate, then recirculate content designed to harass, intimidate, and disparage Miss Lively on platforms such as Reddit and TikTok, pretending all the while that the content you were promoting was authentic, user generated content rather than content you had commissioned and paid for in the first instance. Wow. Okay, so um in one of the pieces of evidence that we saw that when Justin Baldoni had his crisis management team together, one of the things they wanted to do was to control the narrative. So you kind of see that here, but they frame it as harassment. Um, but one thing that I did not see in Justin Baldoni's plan with his team, with his digital team, was that they were going to create content. So of course they say it was designed to harass and intimidate, which, you know, that's just what they're alleged. But I didn't see that they were going to create content and then try to pretend that it was user generated content. Just make it seem like it was something genuine that was being shared across the internet. Hmm. We understand that you mistakenly believe that these efforts would be untraceable and would allow you to destroy Miss Lively without fingerprints. But just as these efforts have come to light, rest assured that if you take any additional actions to retaliate against our client, we will uncover and hold you accountable for those actions. Sheesh. Hmm. Oh, okay. So now here is where they address um, what she had, the email that she sent before she came back to production. Furthermore, you knew that Wayfarer by mid-November of 2023 had agreed to a comprehensive set of protections, which we read earlier, to facilitate a return to production, which Wayfarer had agreed, again in writing, were not only reasonable but also essential for the benefit of all parties involved. To the extent you have not recently reviewed the reasonable but also essential provisions of that protections for return to production, basically saying they're not holding up their end of the agreement, document to which Wayfair agreed, including its robust anti retaliation provision, which I kind of said a few minutes ago. You may wish to refamiliarize yourself. Oof, that's spicy. You may wish to refamiliarize yourself with that document before you take any additional actions that will result in further liability for you and your associates. Hmm. In sum, your conduct has violated and continues to violate Miss Lively's contract rider. Okay, so then this is another cease and desist, and this was from the 20th. Okay. So this is just a cease and desist, basically trying to get his him to stop his team from putting stuff out on Reddit and whatnot. So this whole thing, the rest of this, I feel like, is the cease and desist, right? Okay, no, Exhibit B. Oh, so now we have a timeline, basically. December 21st, in a statement to the New York Times, which was later published by various different media outlets, Mr. Freeman stated it is shameful that Miss Lively and her representatives would make, excuse me, such serious and categorically false allegations against Mr. Baldoni, Wayfair Studios, and its representatives, as yet another desperate attempt to fix her negative reputation, which was garnered from her own remarks and actions during the campaign for the film. Interviews and press activities that were observed publicly in real time and unedited, which allowed for the internet to generate their own views and opinions. So people have been talking about how Blake Lively had been carrying herself during the interviews because in the movie it deals with some very touchy subjects. Oh, hey, what's up, Jay? In the movie, it deals with some very touching subjects, and she wasn't, or it appeared that she wasn't being too sensitive to the questions when they were brought up. This all gives she wanted to revive her career, thought this movie would do that for her, but she wanted to take full control, which really was a hostile takeover. Yeah, it definitely, based on what we're seeing here with all the back and forths, it definitely does seem like it was a hostile takeover based on what Justin Baldoni's team is alleging, with um, her reaching out to her husband Ryan Reynolds and then him using his cachet to get Sony to kind of force her purview and force like her request onto the production team. So he actually said a lot, this Friedman guy, on December 21st. Then on the 23rd, again, he made another statement in the Hollywood Reporter. Then on the 28th, um, he made a report on Deadline. Then on the 31st, USA Today. So he was on an all-out campaign. January 23rd, during an on-camera interview with NBC Nightly News, Mr. Friedman stated, among other things, I am more than willing to take every single text message that exists out there, lay them out, put them on a website for the world to see, have them see the truth, and determine the truth for themselves. Okay, so this is what they brought up previously. So you see how legal speak kind of works. So when the lawyers kind of brought it up, they made it seem as if this was a plan. They were going to create a website. You see, I even made a note for myself to look for that website, because they made it seem like this was something that they actually intended to do, which was create a website that would help to prove his case and put everything out there. But you can see that he's just kind of speaking off the cuff, just saying, if need be, this is what I'll do, not something that he's actually going to do, So this is why, I wanted to read this myself, because another media outlet would take that and add a spin to it and have you believe that Justin Baldoni and his team are actually going to create a website. You know what I mean? So like, I think that that's why it's important for us to read these things ourselves. Um, in a statement released to people and other media outlets. Oh, so let me put a line through that because we don't have to look up that website because they're not going to do that. They're not going to make a website. It is painfully ironic that Blake Lively is accusing Justin Baldoni of weaponizing the media with her own team orchestrated this vicious attack by sending the New York Times grossly edited documents prior to even filing the complaint. Then on January 7th, he was on the Megyn Kelly show. January 16th, January 18th, something else in Deadline. Yo, they're going in. January 21st, which was just last week. Oh, so this is where the Mr. Friedman released video footage from the production of the film to Us Weekly and other media outlets. The footage begins with the following statement. Miss Lively's complaint alleges that during the scene, Mr. Baldoni and Miss Lively were filming for a slow dance montage. Mr. Baldoni was behaving inappropriately. Do you guys want to watch that? Should we watch that? Let me know. The following video, captured on May 23rd, 2023, clearly refute Miss Lively's characterization of his behavior. The scene in question was designed to show the two characters falling in love and longing to be close to one another. Both actors are clearly behaving well within the scope of the scene and with mutual respect and professionalism. January 21st, in a statement released to Us Weekly alongside the above referenced video footage, Mr. Friedman and his team stated, Us received this video from legal counsel Brian Friedman, who has gone on record numerous times and told the public that Justin Baldoni and team has nothing to hide, and this video once more proves this. Okay, so basically, obviously they were releasing clips that proves that there was nothing inappropriate going on set. So now let's get to Exhibit C. Ethical obligations. Okay, so again, this feels like another cease and desist. Or is this the complaint? Yeah, it's a cease and desist. Okay. All right, so this is just another. Oh, we got text messages. Hold up. We got text messages. We got text messages here. All right, so let's check this out. For starters, your statement falsely asserts that there were no proactive measures taken with the media or otherwise, that the representative of Wayfair Studios still did nothing proactive nor retaliated, and only responded to incoming media inquiries to ensure balance and factual reporting and monitored social activity. These claims are false. As you know, Wayfair Studios team deployed numerous proactive measures with traditional and social media and did much of that work before Wayfair had ever received incoming media inquiries. For example, on August 1st, 2024, before the film premiered and well before Wayfair had received incoming media inquiries to which to respond, Miss Abel wrote to Mr. Heath that she had fully briefed a friend of 12 plus years who writes for People Magazine, Fox News, In Touch, and Us Weekly, and that her friend was armed and ready to take this story of Blake weaponizing feminism to any of her outlets the minute we give her the green light. So they were already ready to go. She hates Blake, has heard this story before, and will do anything for us. This proactive measure was designed to harm Miss Lively's reputation in clear violation of the language of the anti-retaliation clause in Miss Lively's rider, among other things, and took place before any receipt of media inquiries. So we have from Abel to Heath. Thanks for the call. Confidentially, I'm out to dinner with a friend of 12 plus years who writes for People Magazine, Fox News, In Touch, Us Weekly. She is fully briefed of the situation and is armed and ready to take this story of Blake weaponizing feminism. Oh, so this is basically what I just said, FYI. Jesus. Okay. A few days later, on August 4th, again, prior to the film's premiere, Miss Nathan wrote to Miss Abel that she has been in touch with her friend and editor at the Daily Mail, who Miss Nathan reported was ready when we are. As with the outreach described above, the proactive media engagement occurred prior to the alleged incoming media inquiries that later arrived. Am I already off the record? Spoke to the editor of Daily Mail because she's my friend. Sheesh. She's ready when we are. Oh my God, we have like a. Okay. As you know, the next few days after, as you know, the next day after this, Mr. Baldoni sent a screenshot of an article accusing a prominent female celebrity of bullying and told Miss Abel this is what we would need. To which Miss Abel responded in the affirmative and mentioned her plans to work with Miss Nathan and social. Jesus, what am I reading here? I'm sorry. Let me read the sentence again. It's a long one. As you know, the next day after this, Mr. Baldoni sent a screenshot of an article accusing a prominent female celebrity of bullying and told Miss Abel this is what we would need. To which Miss Abel responded in the affirmative and mentioned her plans to work with Miss Nathan on social and digital media platforms to accomplish Mr. Baldoni's objectives. Who is this? That looks like Haley Bieber. Oh shit. Yo, they involving hella people in this. Yo, what the yo. Yes, I literally just spoke to Melissa about this on the break about what we discussed last night for social and digital. Focus on Reddit, TikTok. So, okay, so I don't think they're involving her, so let me not say that. I think what he's saying is it would appear that he's saying we would need something like this. Yeah. Of course, as you know, Ms. Nathan's written plan expressly discussed engaging in proactive rather than reactive media techniques, including fully social account takedowns, starting threads of theories, and creation of social fan engagement. Okay, so this is just what it would cost. Incredibly glad that the press went so well today. We don't have a date on this, but we can assume that it was. So this is April. They said this was a few days later. So we assume this is around the same time, sometime last year. Hey, Jamie, hey, Jen. So incredibly glad that this press went so well today. And from what I know, Justin felt incredibly supported. He is lucky to have you all. We took the day today to do some research and get digital quotes in from the two teams we used to get the best results. As you're both aware, we are in a predicament that we just do not know the outcome of right now. Now what I would like to know is how exactly did Blake Lively's team get this? Because this is communication between Justin Baldoni and his team. So like, how did they get this? Like they have a mole, apparently, is what it would seem like. As you both were saying that full transparency is key here. We have seen the most innocuous issues turn giant due to socials, or the hugest crises have no effects on social whatsoever. You just cannot tell at this stage. But Blake Lively does have some of the TS fan. The TS. What's that? The TS fan base. So we will be taking it extremely serious. I don't know what TS is. It's not what I'm thinking. We also understand audience is not solely JB fan base, but the studio, so it's covering all bases. Uh, Taylor Swift. Okay. Thank you. I did not know that. So basically, Blake Lively does have some of the Taylor Swift fan base, so we will be taking it extremely serious. Yeah, because if them Taylor fans, woo, yeah, if them Taylor fans get activated, it could be a real issue. So they're gonna spend quote $171,000. This will be for a 3 to 4 month period and includes website, full Reddit, full social account takedowns, full social crisis team on hand for anything, engage with audiences in the right way, start threads of theories to discuss. This is the way to be fully 100% protected. Jay, I gotta make you a mod in here. I'm gonna figure out how to do that. But I'll make you a mod, like on the first break I take. Okay, and then the second quote is 25K per month, minimum 3 months. So that's what, $75,000. Um, Minimum 3 months as it needs to seed, same as above. This will be for the creation of social fan engagement to go back and forth with any negative accounts, helping to change narrative and stay on track. So you know what? So this right here is showing y'all, right, that when y'all are on these social media platform, especially on like Twitter, and y'all are going back and forth, y'all are really arguing with you. I mean, we could call them bots, but they're really just hired people, just paid to sit there and argue with you all day. So you're not going to be able to convince them of your point, right? So, for example, if you were to go online and have something negative to say about Justin Baldoni, and then somebody responds, and now you're going back and forth, you're essentially wasting your time having an argument with that person because they're paid to continue to fight on his behalf. So you'll never be able to convince them of of seeing your way. Hmm. There's a lot more on both of these quotes, but easier to discuss via the phone. Your statement misleading. Your statement misleadingly characterizes these kind of communications as just internal scenario planning and private correspondence to strategize. But the implication of that claim that none of these plans and strategies were ever implemented is demonstrably false. So basically, he's saying they never actually did any of this. It was just a plan. Instead, your clients retained a digital team, including Mr. Wallace, to engage in social manipulation and social media mitigation and proactive fan posting. On August 7th, oh, they got receipts. Oh, snap. Here we go. On August 7th, 2024, Miss Abel wrote to Nathan about needing to put the social media combat plan into motion, to which Miss Nathan agreed. So do I. I think we really need to put the social combat plan into motion. So do I. Email suggests that your clients met with Mr. Wallace the very next day on August 8th, 2024, in an email to Miss Nathan and Mr. Wallace. Miss Abel wrote, tag team, is this something you can bring them up to speed on so they can hit the ground running? What is this? Um, okay, I'm just gonna read this instead of this because these basically summarize what this is. Oh, and then we got some more text down below. Okay, so we're almost at the end of this, and then once we're done with this, then we'll have Justin Baldoni's response letter to the judge of this, or for this, respond to this. Further, in an email titled social slash digital mitigation slash remediation, your clients confirmed their earlier discussion in writing. Specifically, Miss Abel confirmed discussing social media mitigation and proactive fan posting to counter the narrative, as well as social manipulation. Separate team based in Hawaii. On August 10, 2024, your clients message each other about the results. Oh, sorry. Your clients message each other about the results, the plan, and you see, this is the way it's worded. I'm sorry. On August 10, 2024, your clients message each other about the results, the plan, and Mr. Wallace's work in particular had yielded. Oh, about the plan and the work Mr. Wallace's work in particular had yielded. I'm sorry. Noting lawyer speak is just, it's a whole different language. Noting a shift on social due largely to Mr. Wallace and his team's effort to shift the narrative. Hi team, so far extremely limited pickup on Daily Mail or page 6. We'll continue to keep an eye out and send pieces as needed, but so far it's been steady coverage on pure speculation. We've also started to see a shift on social, due largely to Jed and his team's effort to shift the narrative towards shining a spotlight on Blake and Ryan. Again, we'll continue to send links and screenshots, but wanted to send an update in the meantime. In the days that followed, your client regularly discussed amplifying, boosting, engagement in the comments and flagging to Mr. Wallace online content that favored Mr. Baldoni and disfavored Miss Lively. For example, with knowledge that the marketing of the film was expressly following Sony's marketing plan, which Mr. Baldoni himself had followed prior to August of 2024, the Wayfarer team targeted and then amplified TikTok videos that mistakenly blamed Miss Lively rather than the marketing plan for not speaking about domestic violence in the press surrounding the release of the film. Okay. So essentially, if you watch any videos that are talking about this, you'll see that one of the things that they always talk about is how um and actually I just mentioned it because it's something that came up during my research as well, is that how Blake Lively was receiving backlash for not taking the domestic violence in the video as serious as people felt that it should have been taken. And allegedly, what they're saying is that that narrative was amplified by this social media team that Justin Baldoni hired. And they went with that strategy instead of the normal marketing, or the marketing that Sony had agreed on for the movie. They instead put money, or however, let me not say put money, but they, let's just say, amplified the story of Blake Lively not actually speaking about the domestic violence in a way that they wanted, in a way that they deemed acceptable. Okay, so on August 18th, on August 18th, 2024, Ms. Nathan described the work of Mr. Wallace and his team as doing something very specific in terms of what they do, and confirmed that Mr. Wallace and Mr. Heath had connected on this day, the day before. Miss Nathan made clear that Mr. Wallace's team did not use bots because bots look fake to anyone. And any digital team these days is far more intelligent to utilize something so obvious. Okay, so this is what we are discussing just now. So they did not use bots to amplify and create these discussions. They actually used real people. This is fully consistent with Miss Nathan's description in an earlier message that the digital team's effort to change the narrative would be untraceable. So so essentially what they're saying is that instead of using bots, they're going to use people because they felt that using bots would be traced. So I can fully confirm we do not have bots. This is not also what we do. Bots look fake to anyone. The other team is doing something very specific in terms of what they do. I know Jamie and Jed connected on this. Bots and fan accounts also run pretty organically by now with all AI platforms and Google Analytics itself. There is no bot army. That's a myth these days. Any digital team these days is far more intelligent to utilize something so obvious. Okay. Can I get a signal thread with you? Okay, so this is Mr. Wallace and other members trying to get a signal thread together. And then this is just a summary. We demand you cease and desist. So this is basically the end of their cease and desist. And that was on the 21st. And now we have the Baldoni response. And okay. So let's see. Right, so this is the response to the letter that we just read. Contrary to the inflammatory allegations in the Lively Party's letters, counsel for Wayfair Party has not violated Rule 3.6, which prohibits lawyers who are participating in a civil matter to make extrajudicial statements that will have substantial likelihood of materially prejudicing and adjudicative proceeding in the matter. So in other words, basically saying like his lawyer can talk to the press. So what he's saying is the Lively parties provided the New York Times with Miss Lively's otherwise confidential administrative complaint filed with the California Civil Rights Department and thousands of pages of original documents, including text messages and emails. In its bombshell story, We Can Bury Anyone Inside a Hollywood Smear Machine, the Times regurgitated Miss Lively's allegations along with an array of cherry-picked, altered, and misleading splice communications. The results have been utterly calamitous for Mr. Baldoni and the other Wayfarer parties who instantly became objects of public scorn and contempt. Already, the Wayfarer parties have been exiled from polite society and suffered damages totaling hundreds of millions of dollars due to Miss Lively's scorched earth media campaign. One thing I did see was that Justin Baldoni was dropped from his talent agency. And then, of course, they say from polite society. So again, he's apparently being shunned. At this point, I would like to remind you all to please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that share button as we go through these. All right, so so kind of what Giselle in the chat was saying, the coordinated public drop of Miss Lively's administrative complaint and the time story, which the Lively parties do not deny orchestrating, began a very much ongoing attempt to rehabilitate Miss Lively's image at the Wayfarer party's expense. Immediately after the Wayfarer party filed their complaint against the Lively parties. Chapter of the abuser. As recently as 2 days ago, So this was filed on the 23rd. So he's talking about on the 21st, right? Okay, yeah. As recently as 2 days ago, the Lively Parties Council publicly described the contents of video footage relating to Miss Lively's allegation as damning. Their statement continued, any woman who has been inappropriately touched in the workplace will recognize Miss Lively's discomfort. All right, you know what? We got to check out this video. All right, we got to check out this video really quick. Let's pull it up. Okay.
Other news today, if such a thing is even possible.
Whoops. Okay. Give me 1 second, y'all. Okay.
The dispute between Blake Lively and her It Ends With Us co-star Justin Baldoni is even ugly.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on.
Baldoni's legal team released new footage of a romantic scene shot for the hit movie It Ends With Us. Lively's legal team says the nearly 10-minute video is damning, adding every frame of the released footage corroborates to the letter what Miss Lively described in her complaint. The video shows Mr. Baldoni repeatedly leaning in toward Miss Lively, attempting to kiss her, kissing her forehead, rubbing his face and mouth against her neck, telling her how good she smells, and talking with her out of character.
I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I forgot I muted myself. So what I was saying is we would actually need to thank you. We would actually need to see what the date was that this was filmed, because we know that she released her return to set protections, where she didn't want to be going off script. She didn't want any spontaneous acting. But what I was saying was for any of us that are true fans of movies, you know that a lot of our favorite scenes, um, those moments are actually they were off script. They weren't planned. They were the spontaneous moments that just made the cut. You know what I mean? Like from my understanding, I even believe the scene in Training Day where where Denzel is like, King Kong ain't got shit on me. Like he improv that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's something that when you do a Training Day reenactment, you do that one. Right. So same thing with Heath in the Batman movie. Want to know how I got these scars? Like, he improvised a lot of that stuff. So in a movie like this, where you have two characters that are supposed to be in love, like, you have to improvise to some degree, right? You have to pretend that you're in love with this person in order for it to come through on camera, right? Like, you can't necessarily choreograph being in love with someone, you know? So anyway.
What the video proves may be in the eye of the beholder, because Baldoni's lawyer says it's proof he did nothing wrong. The following videos captured on May 23rd.
May 23rd. Okay, so this was before she sent the letter of her stipulations to come back to set.
2023 clearly refute Miss Lively's characterization of his behavior. Both actors were clearly behaving well within the scope of the scene and with mutual respect and professionalism.
I'm probably getting spray fast too.
It smells good.
Well, it's not bad. It's my body makeup.
It's certainly a he said, she said.
Okay, I mean, if you ask me, I don't know. I mean, especially just based on that, you know, those couple minutes that we saw, right? Or, you know, couple seconds, I guess. I didn't see anything wrong with that. That looked like acting to me, but I guess we would have to watch the full 10 minutes. Maybe there's something more in there, but I don't know. But as the lawyer who came on at the end was saying, it's definitely he said, she said. So I'm not sure why he released that, because to me that didn't prove either way. I mean, I guess it would prove that she wasn't observedly uncomfortable. You know what I mean? But it doesn't mean that in her head she wasn't uncomfortable. You know what I mean? So we don't know. Okay, so as recently as 2 days ago, the Lively Parties Council publicly described the content of the video that we just watched relating to Miss Lively's allegations as damning. Their statement continued, any woman who has been inappropriately touched in the workplace will recognize Miss Lively's discomfort. In the context of a media feeding frenzy initiated by Miss Lively, which has already caused and continues to cause untold harm to the personal and professional lives of the Wayfarer parties. Counsel for the Wayfarer parties adamantly and in good faith believe that a public response is required in order to avoid prejudice to their clients. In other words, he's saying that he has to speak up for his clients. Lively parties desire to force the Wayfarer parties to defend themselves privately against allegations. Okay, the Lively parties desire to force the Wayfarer parties to defend themselves privately against allegations made publicly is not a proper basis for a gag order. It is tactical gamesmanship and is outrageous. If, as the Lively parties letter suggests, such a protective order is formally requested, it should be denied. Which makes sense. Okay, so that is his response to what they said. And then I believe this is his response to the complaint in general. Oh wait, no. This is Blake Lively's response. Hold on. Yeah, let's do it that way. We'll do Blake Lively's response, and then we'll do Justin Baldoni's response to the complaint as a whole, and that'd be all the evidence we have for Blake so far. Sorry about that. Okay. So, again, this is Blake Lively's response to what we just read. On behalf of Lively, okay, counsel for the Wayfarer parties attempt to defend Mr. Friedman's extrajudicial conduct, basically talking to different media outlets, on the basis that the Lively parties provided the New York Times with Miss Lively's otherwise confidential administrative complaint filed with the California Civil Rights Department, and the Times regurgitated Miss Lively's allegations. Counsel for the Wayfarer parties appear to be suggesting that the referenced conduct is permissible because, in their incorrect and baseless view, Miss Lively started it first. But the argument that they started it is misleading and ignores the reality that the utterly calamitous effects the Wayfarer parties claim to suffer as a result of reported facts and filed allegations were on information and belief initiated by the manner in which they or their counsel leaked the CRD complaint to the tabloid. So that's a lot right there. But basically, what it would appear to be is that, let me see, file delegation. Wait a minute. Argument that they started is misleading. So basically saying that it's misleading, and it ignores the reality that the effects of the Wayfarer parties claim to suffer. So what they're saying is that in actuality, it wasn't because of her, it was because Justin Baldoni and his counsel leaked the CRD complaint to the tabloid media. So basically saying that they should be given a gag order because the entire reason Blake Lively had to come out and say what she said was because they've been leaking stuff to the tabloids. So more problematically, it ignores that under well-established public policy and federal law, victims and survivors of sexual harassment and sexual assault have the freedom to report and publicly disclose their abuse. Further, the position that the New York Times reporting on the CRD complaint permanently justifies engaging in provocative and prejudicial publicity distorts applicable ethical rules beyond recognition. I'm sorry for all this legal jargon, but you know, this how these lawyers talk. I would do my best to like break it down. Just as Mr. Friedman's initial and defamatory press statement to the New York Times was intended to fan the flames of the controversy and move Miss Lively's formal administrative complaint into the court of public opinion and designed to focus on her character assassination, so have each of his public statements regarding Miss Lively since that time. So basically, he did it, they did, you know, they're just blaming each other, basically. This public commentary, including that he will sue individuals into oblivion, which apparently it seems will shock everyone who has been manipulated into believing a demonstrably false narrative, is nothing other than publicity purposely initiated by the lawyer or lawyer's client to perpetuate a public narrative. Attempted to draw dangerous false equivalence may have profound consequences. Okay, so now they're talking beyond this case. Says that the Wayfarer parties are attempting to draw a dangerous false equivalence that may have, it says, the Wayfarer parties are attempting to draw a dangerous false equivalence that may have profound consequences, not just for this case, but for other women who are sexually harassed in the workplace, given the high profile of this matter. These actions arose from one of the most fundamental protected activities under the law, speaking out against sexual harassment and retaliation in the workplace. So to rep, they said, okay, so from here, even more troubling, however, is that the retaliation campaign that Miss Lively alleged in her complaint, with substantial supporting documentation, includes highly destructive behind the scenes elements, including the regular engagement of Melissa Nathan with her vast tabloid media sources to influence a steady stream of negative media regarding Miss Lively, as well as a sophisticated and untraceable digital social media manipulation campaign designed to impact social media algorithms against Miss Lively. The Lively Reynolds Party are informed and believe that these efforts have continued unabated since the CRD complaint was filed and may have even been accelerated. Okay. And all right, and the last document that we have, for the Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni, where she's suing him for sexual harassment and retaliation for $250 million, is his response to the actual complaint. Tomorrow, I will discuss any new letters that have been filed in the courts, anything that came out today and anything that will come out tomorrow. I'll discuss during tomorrow's stream, which will be at the same time at noon. As well as at that time, we will then look at Justin Baldoni's defamation case against Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds for $250 million, and also his case against the New York Times for an additional $400 million we'll do the following day. And if at any time we hit our goals, which hold on, I never even started them, but if at any time we hit our goals, I'll just do the next thing that I said I was going to do. Okay, so defendant Wayfarer Studios hereby answers for itself alone, no others. The complaint filed by plaintiff Blake Lively as follows. Okay, so there is a lot here. So I'm just going to skim. Okay. So we're just going to read this first one. Answering the allegations in paragraph 1 of complaint, defendant admits that a meeting was conveyed in New York on January 4, 2024, prior to resuming filming of It Ends With Us, and the attendees of the meeting, including Justin Baldoni, who is the co-chairman and co-founder of Wayfarer Studios, as well as the director, executive producer, and actor in the lead role of Ryle Kincaid, Jamie Heath, all these other people, and Ryan Reynolds, as to all remaining allegations. Okay, so basically he's admitting that they did have the return to set meeting that Blake Lively alluded to. If you missed that, you can go back to the beginning of the stream where I read off what her demands were. Oh, okay, so they're going down. Okay, so you know what? I'm gonna have to bring it up. Give me 1 second. Yeah, I'm gonna have to bring it up because they're going one by one. Oh, they're doing it by the paragraphs. Okay, there'll be a lot to go through. All right, so we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna go through each of the paragraphs and do the comparative thing. We'll just go to here. Answering the allegations. So clearly he denied some things. Admits that it agreed to the list of demands that the plaintiff set forth substantially in the form set forth in Exhibit A, which we looked at. It admits made that the statement quoted in the paragraph, all remaining allegations. Answering the allegation, admits that the film was completed, marketed, and released safely and successfully. Production of the film resumed January 5th and concluded on February 9th of last year. Resounding success. During the summer, fellow cast member promoted the film. They were under contractual obligation to engage in media, press. So they're denying everything. Deny. Admits that Jennifer Abel provided publicist services to Wayfair and Mr. Baldoni. The Wayfair and Mr. Baldoni retained a crisis communication specialist named Melissa Nathan and her company, the agency group, which is a PR group, the tag team. Okay, so that's who they were talking about, the tag team. And that Ms. Nathan delivered a proposal to Mr. Baldoni as to all remaining allegations. Defendant denies such allegations, including without limitation to the allegations that the plaintiff obtained the communications described in the complaint through legal processes, including civil subpoenas. So this is what I was saying. I was saying, like, how was she getting this information? But like, how is this possible? Because like she has personal communication with him and his team. How is she getting it? So apparently they're saying that she didn't get it through a legal process. Okay. Answering the allegations in paragraph 11 of the complaint, defendant admits the allegations that TAG sent communications containing the text set forth in that paragraph. Okay, so yes, they did have the text communication that we read. They're admitting to that. Defendant denies all remaining allegations in that paragraph, so specifically denies the communication and their context are characterized accurately in the complaint. Okay, so basically saying that the communications, Blake Lively and her team were characterizing them as a ploy to smear her in the media, which they're saying it wasn't. Okay. So they're just denies all allegations, admitting to the text, but denying the characterizations of the text. They're basically denying. So the rest of it deny. Look at it. Deny. Deny. Lacks knowledge or sufficient information or formed belief about the truth of allegations relating to plaintiff's state of mind, and that plaintiff's driver remarked that he did not want plaintiff to be alone with Mr. Baldoni moving forward. Defendant denies all of them. So apparently she also claimed in some of her in her complaint that her driver had some concerns and didn't want Mr. Baldoni alone with Miss Lively. Allegedly. I'm just saying allegedly to everything. This whole stream is alleged. Just put alleged over the whole thing. All right. Answering the allegations. Okay, he doesn't know her state of mind. Okay, so his response seems to just be denying everything. Baldoni offered to connect with plaintiff with the expert who could offer plaintiff assistance with probiotics in response to a strep infection and antibiotic treatment. I don't know what that is. Okay, defendant lacks knowledge or information sufficient to form belief about the truth of the allegations that plaintiff unsuccessfully attempted to raise concerns with Sony. Now, here's the thing with this part, which is interesting. On the one, oh well, you know what? You know what? That was Justin was saying that she reached out to um to her husband to get him to reach out to Sony. Okay. 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 Admits that the plaintiff requested that Wayfair agree to conditions before returning to production. Because they had the meeting. All right, so it seems like he's just denying a lot of the stuff. Not a deny. I mean, like it's literally copy and paste. Okay, here we go. Now we get into some more stuff. Here we go. Okay. The complaint and each claim alleged therein fails to state facts sufficient to constitute any claim for relief against the defendant, basically saying she has no right to get anything from him, any monetary relief. The complaint and each claim alleged therein is barred as plaintiff lacks standing to sue, basically saying she can't sue. Is barred as plaintiff has waived her claims. Has stopped from asserting her claims. I don't know what that is. Acted and continues to act with unclean hands, meaning that she's involved in some way, allegedly. Is barred as plaintiff has not been damaged in any way as a result of any alleged acts or omissions of the defendant. Is barred in whole or in part by the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America. Complaint in each claim alleged therein is barred as plaintiff has failed to undertake reasonable measures to mitigate the damages she claims she claims to have incurred. Any recovery by plaintiff must be diminished to the extent that any alleged damages could have been avoided if such measures had been undertaken. So basically saying he's not given any compensatory or punitive or any other types of damages. Wait, did I say dismiss? Oh, denies. The damages and injuries, if any, suffered by plaintiff were directly and proximately caused solely by the reckless, negligent, and wrongful conduct of individuals or entities other than the defendant. Basically saying it was all her fault. Defendant alleges that in the event it is found in some manner legally liable to plaintiff as a result of the events or occurrences described in the complaint, that liability will be solely based upon a derivative, vicarious or imputed form of liability, not resulting from its own conduct, but instead based upon an obligation imposed upon it by law or by the conduct of others. And as such, the legal liability of defendant would be proximately caused by acts or omissions of others, and therefore defendant is entitled to recover contribution from them. Okay, so then they just start saying the same thing over and over. Plaintiff's alleged damages are too speculative in this case. Defendant presently has insufficient knowledge or information on which to form belief as to whether it may have individual as yet unstated affirmative or defensive available. More lawyer speak. Prayer for relief. Okay. Wherefore, defendant Wayfarer Studios LLC plays for relief as follows: that the complaint be dismissed with prejudice, meaning that they can't bring it up again, and plaintiff take nothing herein, that judgment be entered in favor of defendant and against the plaintiff for cost of suit incurred in this action, meaning pay for his legal fees, for such other or further relief as the court may deem just as proper. May deem just and proper. Demand for jury trial. Defendant demands a jury trial on all causes of action. So we are going to trial, baby. Now, if they stream this, I'm covering it live. If they stream this, I am covering it live. So just letting y'all know. All right, so that is the Justin Baldoni. Well, actually, I have to say it right. It is the Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni case in a nutshell. Interesting stuff. Based on what I've seen so far, it really does feel like a lot of he said, she said. It doesn't feel to me, based on what I saw, that she's proven sexual harassment based on what I saw. Based on what I read, there were just a lot of claims. I think once the trial starts, it would she would have to bring forth witnesses. I think witnesses are what this case is going to hinge on, because we saw text messages and they were trying to make it seem salacious, like, oh, he's putting together a team to sully her name allegedly, but it really just feels like throughout the production, and this is me just based on what I saw in his response letter, it just feels like throughout production, he kind of felt like, she was trying to take over, and she kept involving Ryan Reynolds and having them go up over his head, since he was the director, go over his head to Sony to make Justin Baldoni do certain things that Blake Lively wanted. And I guess he can feel the tension. Again, this is just me trying to have empathy and speak from what I think he's feeling. And he just felt like there was going to be more to this after the movie premiered. So let me get a crisis team together and get some quotes just in case I need to defend myself. And that's just kind of what it seemed like. Because, putting myself on the other end that from what she was claiming he did, which is like, oh, I'm going to get a crisis team together to sully her name just because, I don't know. That just didn't, I don't know why he would do that, why he would, um, yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me why he would put together a crisis team to sully her name when they're about to go and market this movie and try to get a return. And, she's trying to, look good in the media. So I don't know. But anyway, tomorrow we'll take a look at any of the new filings for this case, for this Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni case. And we'll look at those first. And then we'll look at any of the documents. I already have them. We'll look at the documents for his countersuit for defamation for $250 million. And we'll go through all of the documents that he provided to the court. Well, most of the documents. But yeah, that'll wrap it up for the first part in the stream. I thank you all for being here. Please do not forget to like the video, subscribe, share. Let everybody know that we'll be live again tomorrow. And I will, oh, hold on. I just don't understand why Ryan wouldn't just create a movie for her under his own production company. All of this was for what? Yeah. Yeah, but you know what it is. From my understanding, the movie is based on a book, and the book sold really well, and that is why Justin Baldoni secured the rights for it. And I think that once Blake Lively got involved with it, she was kind of like, oh, you know what? Allegedly, if we are to believe Justin Baldoni, what he said, it would have been that she felt like, oh, you know what? This is a really good movie. Let's try to finagle our way into some sort of ownership or as much creative control over this project as possible. But what you said does make sense, Giselle. It would just make more sense for Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds to do do an entire movie on their own. I mean, Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. You know what I mean? Like, they have the pull. They have more than enough pull and cachet together to get it done. So, yeah, I don't know why either. Yeah. But anyway, as I was saying, thanks for coming through. We're going to wrap it up there, and I will see you all tomorrow. If you have anything you want me to take a look at as far as details for this case or Justin Baldoni's countersuit, throw it in the community, and I'll take a look at it, and we may even react to it on stream. But again, thank you. I will see you tomorrow. Again, like, subscribe, share. Peace out. Allegedly. Peace, y'all.